with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
When the time arrived for Elizabeth to have her child, she gave birth to a son. Her neighbors and relatives heard that the Lord had shown his great mercy toward her, and they rejoiced with her. When they came to the 8th day to circumcise the child, they were going to call him Zechariah after his father. But his mother said in reply, "No, he will be called John." But they answered her, "There is no one among your relatives who has that name." So they made signs, asking the father what he wished him to be called. He asked for a tablet and wrote, "John is his name." And all were amazed. Immediately his mouth was open, his tongue freed, and he spoke, praising God. Fear came over all their neighbors, and all these matters were discussed throughout the hill country of Judea. All who heard these things took them to heart, saying, "And what will this child be? For surely the hand of the Lord was with him." The child grew and became strong in spirit, and he was in the desert until the day he was to manifest the Lord to Israel. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
There are three principal characters in today's Gospel: Elizabeth, Zechariah, and John. And they're what I would call transitional people. They're in between the Judaism passing away and something new, Christianity, to be born, but they don't yet know what that new thing is. And strange things are happening to them. Suddenly, in her old age, Elizabeth is pregnant. Zechariah can't speak. For a Jewish family to name a child after a name that has not been in the family is unheard of, and yet they name him John. And even though they don't understand all these strange things that are happening, they remain faithful and trust in God. I think we're living in a similar transitional moment in the history of the church. I have in the bulletin today that in the 1960s, there were 189 young men studying for priesthood in our diocese. Today there are 8. And so the question has to be asked, who's going to be standing behind these altars in 25 years? The question also has to be asked, who's going to be sitting in these pews in 25 years? Because to a significant degree, your children are not here. And my encounter with your children tells me that they are highly moral, they're ethical, they're caring, compassionate, loving. Are they not doing all the things Jesus asks of them in the gospel? And yet there's no connect with this, which says to me that something is wrong with this. With each passing year, more and more of our high school students come in to see me at the request of their parents to tell me they're not going to be confirmed. And we can't push it on them. If we insist upon it, we push them further out the door. They're good people, and yet there's not a connect here. And I don't know what's happening or where it's going, but I'm filled with hope. I'm absolutely overflowing with hope, because I'm convinced that whatever is going to emerge is going to make a contact and a touch with our children. Because if we don't have our children, we simply don't have a future. And so I think we're in the same transitional moment as Elizabeth and Zechariah and John. And I think our call is to imitate them and trust our God, because he knows what he's doing. Amen.